The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning, everyone. It is 5 a.m. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Alex Fisher.
And as we expect temperatures to soar this weekend, it could be deadly for anyone living on the streets. That is a major concern for homeless advocates. 17's Aaliyah Fitzgerald explains how the heat impacts a vulnerable population. Aaliyah?
That's right, Alex. With the upcoming heat wave, it's going to be uncomfortable to say the least. Thankfully, a lot of us have air conditioning. However, some have to take on the heat head on.
With temperatures set to soar well into the 110s this weekend, homeless populations are at risk for heat stroke and other health factors regarding extreme temperatures.
Yeah, for those that are deciding not to come into a shelter or enter a cooling center, you may see them on the sidewalks or in alleyways. I'm trying to find shade and coverage, and this is a really vulnerable moment for them because it is very hot outside.
When temperatures hit 104 degrees, the body's thermoregulatory mechanism is overwhelmed and subjects the body to heat stroke. For unhoused people, these temperatures could be deadly as they are subjected to the heat all day long. There are resources for those that are unhoused and unable to get into a high-volume shelter.
Yeah, our homeless providers are working around the clock to make sure that individuals have at least their basic necessities such as food and water during these heat waves. So we do have cooling centers for individuals that cannot get into shelter. The libraries are always a welcoming space for these type of individuals that do not want to seek shelter or cannot enter shelter.
If you see something, say something.
You start noticing anyone that's unhoused or homeless, shivering or seeming to have any type of medical condition, please continue to call 911 and support these individuals.
Leave medical attention up to the professionals. Alongside 911, you can also call 211 for local resources. In studio, Aaliyah Fitzgerald, 17 News.
Meantime, a SWAT team was out across the street from an elementary school in Bakersfield. We're still trying to figure out what was going on. Police would only say they were conducting an operation. It happened yesterday morning, shortly after we went off air. This is next to Pauley Elementary School, and you can see several Delano police officers alongside SWAT vehicles. Bakersfield police confirmed to 17 News they were not helping in this investigation, and said it's not unusual for Delano police to be here in Bakersfield.
In your court watch this morning, Trezell and Jacqueline West, the couple convicted in the deaths of their missing adopted children, will have to wait a while longer to hear their sentence. The court has confirmed to 17 News that the West's sentencing, scheduled for today, has been postponed. In May, jurors found Trezell and Jacqueline guilty of second-degree murder in connection to Orrin West's death back in 2020. However, the jury failed to reach a verdict on second-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder in connection with Orson's death. The reason for the postponement and scheduling of another sentencing date will be discussed in court later this morning.
And making headlines around the nation, and Marjorie Taylor Greene has officially been kicked out of the Freedom Caucus. Greene, a fundraising powerhouse with an enormous social media following, has been one of former President Donald Trump's top defenders on Capitol Hill. Her removal from the Freedom Caucus makes her the first lawmaker to be ousted from the group since it formed in 2015. Some members of the ultra-conservative group say one of the reasons Greene was kicked out was for her vocal support for Bakersfield Congressman Kevin McCarthy's ultimately successful speaker bid and his trillion-dollar debt ceiling deal with President Biden.
President Biden, meantime, is closing out his week in Europe with a visit to Finland after 2 days of NATO meetings in Lithuania. The president now formally welcoming Finland into the NATO alliance. And while Ukraine has not locked down its own NATO invitation, leaders of the G7 nations did announce a major security assistance pact for Ukraine as it continues to fend off that brutal Russian invasion. NBC's Alice Barr has the latest from Washington.
President Biden wrapping up his foreign travel today in Finland, formally welcoming NATO's newest member after a week spent emphasizing the security alliance's growing strength.
NATO is stronger, more energized, and yes, more united than ever in its history.
At At the NATO summit in Lithuania, allies agreed to bring Sweden into the alliance and promised a pathway for Ukraine to eventually join.
It's going to happen.
But refused Ukraine's urgent calls for a concrete timeline while the war with Russia is still raging. G7 leaders did agree to shore up long-term military support.
Our commitment to Ukraine will not weaken. We will stand for liberty and freedom today, tomorrow, and for as long as it takes.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky checking his frustrations over NATO membership, instead praising the new security guarantees and thanking the American people for a combined $40 billion in aid.
You spend this money for our lives, and I think that we save the lives for Europe and for all the world.
The united front against Russian President Vladimir Putin, a central theme all week, on full display here in Finland, which shares an 800-mile border with Russia and now shares in an ironclad commitment to defend fellow allies against any threat. Lawmakers here on Capitol Hill are closely watching these overseas meetings, and we're seeing deep divisions, particularly within the Republican Party, between those who want to send Ukraine even more sophisticated weapons and those who want to sharply scale back the spending. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Now to the death of a former Frontier High School soccer star. A candlelight vigil before Talia Cheveria will be held tomorrow night. Cheveria grew up playing on the South Valley Surf soccer field, and that's where the vigil is going to take place. Cheveria left Bakersfield to play soccer at New Mexico State and was getting ready for her junior season. Talia was found dead at a home near the university on Monday morning. Police continue to investigate.
Meantime, city investigators seized truckloads of illegal fireworks over the 4th of July holiday. These are some newly released pictures from Bakersfield police showing about 3,000 pounds of illegal fireworks and more than $9,000 from sales that were also seized. Multiple felony arrests were made.
As a result of those 4th of July firework explosions, local shelters are now overflowing with runaway dogs. So if you're looking to adopt a furry friend, the City of Bakersfield Animal Care Center is back with its annual Clear the Shelters event. 17's Karen Merkine has the details.
That's right, and it comes at a perfect time as shelters in Kern County face over-occupancy issues. The Bakersfield Animal Care Center says just in the last week, they've received 194 dogs, of which only 20 have returned to their owners. Because the shelter is equipped with only 175 kennels, many times dogs have to lay in the front office of the shelter, and other times they unfortunately have to be put down. Olivia Hernandez works at the Bakersfield Animal Care Center and says it's heartbreaking to accept the reality that the shelter is currently facing.
Well, this year has been the worst year for us because we've been over 300 dogs here at the shelter. So then other years, we've been under 300. Since we have so many dogs here, it just gets frustrating,
But you can help combat this crisis. On Saturday, August 26th, the Bakersfield Animal Care Center will hold its annual Clear the Shelters event, where you will have the opportunity to adopt a new best friend. The event starts at 8 a.m. and ends at 2 p.m. All you have to do is bring a photo identification and $15 that will cover the pet license fee. All other fees will be waived. While this pet adoption event is great to get animals out of the shelter, Hernandez would like to remind people that owning a furry friend is a lifetime commitment and that pet owners should be ready to incur food, vet, and other pet-related expenses. In studio, Karen Marroquin, 17 News.
Meantime, Assemblyman Vince Fong will be hosting his 5th annual Free Pet Adoption Day at Kern County Animal Services. The adoption event starts 2 weeks from today and will run for 3 days. Last year, this event found 101 animals new homes.
That is fantastic.
Absolutely. Every pet that we can get out of there, whether through adoption or even just through fostering, just to free up some space in the meantime, saves a life.
Yep, absolutely. We saw, just within the last couple of days, 40 dogs have had to be euthanized because so many dogs keep coming in.
So sad.
Yeah.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.